You don't know what's coming. Good. So I'm going to start off with doing a little double stick Hubud. Phil and I originally learned this at Integral Combat under Dale Johns. And you don't see a lot. Nope. Yes. Nope. Oh, the figures up. You're like, wait a minute. I didn't even know I was doing that. So, be back in the 90s when we learned double stick Hubud from Dale Johns. And I don't see it very often anywhere else. We don't see double stick Hubud come up very often in other systems and styles, or at least not presented. Whether they train it, I'm not sure. The only other time I've seen it was Ray Dionaldo, Tuhon Ray Dionaldo, did one of the seminars that he gave. So his the way that he did it was he would start with Gunting. Phil did a number one, and he would start with a grunt and return, and then you would gut and return, and then you would shoot stop. And that's the way that Dionaldo taught it. The way that Dale taught it, we start off with the angle one, and we immediately do it just like we do when we do empty hand Hubud. Then we would sort of shield, clear, check, and return. Stopping, clearing, checking, and feeding the number one. So when you learn the drill in the beginning, your left hand stick is your shield, and your right hand stick is going to be your attack. And when the sticks are not occupied, they should be pointing at your partner. So as I clear, check, when I strike, my left stick here is now pointing at Phil. So he clears. And the moment I have to block it, now I've got my other stick pointing at Phil. Keep him from closing in on me. And the last little bit is to add a little shift of weight. So I shift out as I defend, and I shift my weight forward as I attack. A little give and take. Have you done this before and remember it? Give it a try. How much less combat application it has. I don't know how much you can hear me talking over the click of the sticks, but back when we trained with Dale, Hubud was like the focus. We did almost everything we ever trained was done out of Hubud in some variation or other. Right? So we did our trapping out of Hubud, we did our takedown out of Hubud, we did our striking combinations out of Hubud, pretty much everything. So keep going number one for another 30 seconds or so. All right, so because it gets tired, we start ending in different angles. So when Phil comes with the one, and I shield, and I clear, instead of coming back with the angle one on the forehand side, I can come with a backhand on the angle two. He's going to shield, clear, and check the same way. And he can come back with whichever one he wants. So you can make it, you can just isolate number two back and forth, just isolate number two back and forth. And maybe isolate the angle one. Or you can just come up and do number one, and then number two. All right, so play at angle one and two, mixing them up a little bit. All right, okay.
No, I was switching.
Now, that's okay. You can do that, right? You can always break it up as long as you come back to the cell. All right, so the reason Dionaldo teaches the gunting first is because that way when you add in all the other angles and you get messed up, you know that you can always do the gunting. So whatever he does, I can always gunt and return. Right? So we can keep flowing. Anytime something comes at an odd angle, I can always just gunt it. So whatever angle it is, I can just gunt to the outside or inside and return. But the idea should be to get back to the flow of the shell as much as possible. The gunt is just there if you're, especially if you're moving around footwork, sometimes you're just in the wrong position. He's coming with a number two, and it feels really awkward to try and get my stick in there. So maybe as he comes with that thing, then I just gunt and return until we can get back into a shell flow. All right, so as we add other angles, and if you're moving around, feel free to just gunt to counter. If you'd rather do that than take the shot. So we have angle one and angle two. The next one we used to teach most often, I think, was angle 8. So if he comes with number one, right, and I do number one. If he comes with 8, it's the same, I'm going to shield now over top, right? So I have to angle my stick, because if I just shield this way for number 8, I'm just going to get hit. So as it comes over top, I shield, and then it follows the same. I clear underneath, I check, I can come back with 8. Okay? Or I can come back with 2. Or I can come back with 1. Or I can come back with 8. And you can do that too. So if 8 is coming and you can't get your stick underneath in time, you can certainly pass it. Okay? So try to get the block in if you can. So for every time I add an angle, it's okay just to isolate the angle for a little bit and just work that one angle. And you can very quickly start to mix the other angles, right? So we have 1, 2, and 8. You don't know what's coming. Good. I know Hubud drill is kind of fun. That's why it's a fun cali drill, right? It gets you moving around using both hands. So, as Phil was showing, you can sometimes, if the shot's coming, I might block with my other stick, and that's okay. So sometimes that just happens. My idea is just to, as quickly as I can, get back into flow. Right? So if I make a mistake and I block with this stick, I just try to get back into flow however I can. If I block here, that's okay. Sometimes I can just do K-pen style too, right? I can just block and go right back in. Block and just hit. Like everything you can do in regular empty hand Hubud, you should be able to do pretty much with the double stick Hubud. And as Phil was saying, so I would say, you know Hubud? All right, so we got angle 1, angle 2, and angle 8. The next one's usually added with the low line shots, which I hate. But so if Phil is coming with a number, what is it? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so 9. If you come with the 9, right? I can block, clear, check, and hit again. So I really hated the number 9 specifically because it's a lot of extra hits. But Dale would point out the idea that it was the hits were to the hand. So when I come, he's blocking, he's smacking my hand, he's smacking my hand again, and then he's coming in. And then it doesn't seem quite so bad. It still is never my favorite on that low line. There's no reason you couldn't on the low line too. Conceivably just block and strike, caveman style, right? So you can throw that as well. So we have the 9, and if we want, we've got the 10 low line. And that's just block, clear, hit. Okay. I come with the 9, the multiple check. I come with the 10, it's just the block, clear, hit. Block, check, hit. All right? Is it getting too confusing? You can always stick with just angle 1, angle 2. These are just options to add in. And anytime something's coming, once again, if he comes to a low line and I'm not sure, I can shunt it and come back. Okay? Or if he comes in a low line, I can always just intercept and tack back. If I can't remember what the actual follow-up is supposed to be, I can change it up this way. As long as we try to get back into our cell at some point. This not full chaos. We should never reach the point of full chaos anyways, because it's always a give and take drill. This is a back and forth drill. There's no multiple hits. Right? He hits me, I deal with his hit, and I hit him. So it's always a give and take drill. So no matter how chaotic it gets, it should never go beyond the give and take drill. Okay? So give that a try. We're going to add in the low lines. They're awkward, but they're important. I mean, that's a great thing in Cali, right? It's coming and going to that low line. So you have to have some kind of ability to handle that low line shot. All right, give it a try. All right, so we have angle 1, 2, and 8, angle 9 and 10. We're going to add in the thrust. So, the first thrust there's going to be a high line, which would be the number 7. If that's okay, 7, right? Here. So if he's doing number 7, that's what you do. If I'm doing the number 7, I can carry on the outside and treat it like a number 2, or I can stop on the inside. My preference is to come outside. That's safer, but sometimes you're going to feel the need to come inside. It's okay. Let's just isolate the thrust for a little bit. So number 7 thrust. Right. Number 6 thrust. Let's see. I don't know if they ever did this. Okay. So I think you would either don't do number 6. You could backhand gunt the number 6 for sure. And it would just be, it would have to be like I must have done an inside gut and then maybe 2. Because in the normal flow, it's not going to come out very often to number 6. But if I do something where I've gunted and then gunted, now there I might see the 6. Right, so number 7. And then every now and then, number 6. Give me number 6. I can just inside parry, or I can try and gunt and get to the outside, or I can try to backhand. Make it happen any way I can. All right, so if you isolate it, you just isolate the 7. Or you can just isolate the 6. All right, can try adding those thrusts in. I knew it was coming. No, nothing just snow. When Dionaldo showed the midline thrust, he did it as a gut. You could also just carry it like you do with the number 10. The deal with 5 the same way as a 10, I can just drop my stick on it and come in. But what Dale liked to do was to use your shield stick and drop it, and then he would flip it over and I'd use my other stick to come in. That was great, right? So when I did my 5 thrust, Dale liked you to go from the 5 thrust and use the energy of the block to flip it over top. So if I thrust, the blocks, I flip it into an 8. I don't know why he taught it that way. And I don't think he had enough knowledge to question his choices. Maybe he just learned it that way. But it does teach you that you have to keep that stick up, because maybe he doesn't do it, but it's nothing wrong with having it there just in case he follows up. So you can just do the thrust, and you can just deal with the thrust and then come back, right? Or I can thrust and do. So his preference and the way we were taught it was always to do that flip into the number 8, to go from the 5 to the 8, right? So you try that. I like the stealing the energy idea, that when he thrusts and I block, he uses that energy to flip the stick up, right? So he blocks me, bam, bam, I shoot right up. It's a nice little bit of stealing energy. All right, we're going to go for about 2 minutes. You can try adding the number 5 thrust in as well. Try to mix it up with different angles that you plan. Oh, that's fine. Keep hand it up, right? That's okay. And it becomes very much close to peaceful. I got it. You almost got it. The second screen is when I almost got it. Good tell.
Yours is-